I have a problem, and it's one that I think both guys and, of course, any girls would have too, but it's just kind of like this hustle culture problem that has continued to kind of pervade my life. And it's definitely something that I see impacting both my work, my marriage, and a lot of the future things that I want to have happen are probably at risk because of it. So, keeping everything simple, let's talk about prioritizing the wrong things or believing that everything is a priority. Let's dive right in. Welcome back to the Keeping Everything Simple podcast. I'm your host and fellow student, Michael Klukas. And in this show, we boil down complicated topics into simple and actionable tips. So, when I say that I have an issue with prioritizing everything, or that trying to find my priorities has actually caused me more harm than good, what I more so mean is the belief that I could prioritize all the right things at the right time, or all the right things at the same exact time, which, spoiler alert here, is actually impossible. However, the thought process was that I'd be able to do so, that I'd be able to actively not only like take care of my health, take care of my career, my education, my relationships, my business goals, whatever it was. I thought, like, okay, if I just find enough time, I can balance it all out. But that was kind of just the hope I was feeding myself and the belief that, if I just worked a little harder, I could do it. If I just, pushed a little more, I could do it. But that led me down this kind of trap of trying to prioritize everything. And that's impossible. That's something that I have to come to terms with, that I can't prioritize everything all at once. It's not going to give me the right results. It's going to be essentially like if I'm filling up 5 different cups and I'm focusing on filling up each one the same amount every single time, you know, hours later, I'm going to have very minimal progress made in every single cup rather than if I focus going all in on 1 or 2 cups at a time. And that's very much so how you should think about your priorities. Because for myself, education and my relationship or my marriage right now, that's like the best example I can have. Because later on in September, I'm going back to school again because summer break will be ending. And I'm still working on becoming a better husband, learning about what that means. And I still have to focus on schooling to get that done. But then at the same time, I still have my health. I still have my job. I still have, this podcast, YouTube, and business ventures that I'm working on actively. And I can't prioritize those all at the same time. It's not possible, and that will just lead to massive burnout or me dropping the ball in so many other categories, which has happened before. So I want you guys to avoid that too. So the first trap you want to avoid is the belief that you can prioritize everything. Now, the second thing that you need to know is that you need to rely on others. And that's something that I continually struggle with, where I might go, oh, like a work project, for example. I might choose to keep it to myself that I don't fully understand what's happening, or I might not fully understand the directions I was given. And I'm just kind of, bumble along. And I think, okay, eventually, I'll figure it out. Eventually, I'll have the right answer. But I could just save myself the trouble and go confirm with my boss or the or project manager, hey, this is what you told me. Here's what I think you meant. Is this accurate? And that would save me so much time. Same is true with my marriage. If I actively just asked my wife, hey, I heard you say this. I think you meant this. Can you let me know that that's accurate? Can you confirm for me that I'm thinking about this in the right way, that I'm not going off in one direction? And that's a huge issue that I've struggled with, and I mean a huge one, because yeah, there's a little bit of that embarrassment or that shame of, oh, I didn't get it right away. I wasn't able to just perfectly understand it. But this might just be a guy thing in general. but the belief that if I don't get it on the first try, then I'm either not competent, I'm either not smart enough, I'm either not capable enough. And that just prevents me from actively reaching out when I do need the help and when it would be beneficial to just get the help. So you have to rely on others. I have to rely on others. And I have to remember that and remind myself of that constantly over and over and over because it doesn't come naturally. For some people it does, but for myself it just doesn't click. But it needs to if I'm going to actively prioritize the right things at the right time. Now, the third thing here that kind of relates to the first project or first problem I was talking about was one is that you can't prioritize everything. Two is that you need to rely on people. But then three is that if everything is a number one priority, then you actually have no real priorities. So I made this mistake so often, like during wedding planning, was that I would prioritize still working on building my computer selling business. I would still work on the podcast. I would still work on going to the gym every single day of the week. But then that meant I wasn't showing up for my wife. Because I prioritized everything, quote unquote, was not showing up for my fiance at the time. I wasn't showing up for my relationship at the time. And I definitely wasn't showing up for my marriage at the time. And that's something that I don't want you guys to fall into that trap of because that's where the real embarrassment comes in. That's where the real regret comes in because I'm thinking to myself, looking back, there's so many better ways I could have gone about it. I could have definitely scaled back the YouTube videos sooner. I could have scaled back the computer selling business sooner. I could have scaled back the fitness sooner. This doesn't mean I was letting them all kind of just fall to the wayside. No, it just meant that, okay, rather than trying to, still spend 5 days a week on these things, maybe I'm spending, 2 days a week, 3 days a week. I'm lowering the amount of commitment so I have more mental energy to give to my wife, to give to, the wedding planning. And that would have saved me not only so much time, it would have saved me so much regret and heartache and problems that I have created, almost, a year later. And so you can't believe that everything is the number one priority because if you do, then you'll never actually be able to prioritize anything properly because you're always going to think, okay, then I have to put this, if I'm given something, I have to put it at the top of my priority list. But then that just bumps down all your other priorities. And then you repeat this vicious cycle of, oh no, something fell down. I have to put it at the top again. I have to make sure that I have these priorities still at the number one. And it just becomes this revolving door of you put one up, one goes down, one goes up, one goes down, one goes up, one goes down. And same as the first example, then you're never truly making enough progress in anything because you're just juggling, constantly flailing, hoping that nothing falls. So again, I don't know if this is just a guy issue in particular. So I do want to speak to the guys on this in particular, in that if you are in a relationship, if you're new in your career, if you are struggling to actively make progress in the things that matter to you, you might be suffering from over prioritization. You might have the belief that you can prioritize everything. You might have the belief that you need to do it all on your own. And you might have the belief that everything deserves to be a number one priority. But at the end of the day, that just results in you feeling burnt out. I know that. It results in feeling like you're never going to be good enough to accomplish the goals you set for yourself. And that's not the outcome I want to have. That's not the outcome I want you guys to have. So you have to understand that the reality of the matter is you cannot prioritize everything all at the same time. There's different seasons and different chapters for everything. You need to rely on others because when we rely on others, we actually cut down the work that we have to do ourselves and we improve the results that we get. Because if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And then if everything's the number one priority, then you actually have no priorities. You have to learn what actually deserves to be a priority and when. Because I want you guys to be able to go into your jobs feeling like you have it under control. I want you to show up in your marriages and your relationships and have not only the emotional intelligence to to be there, to be supportive, but to actively know, oh, I'm actively being better. I'm actually doing better by myself and by my partner. Because at the end of the day, if we believe that everything's a priority, if we believe that our attention is worth being divided, then we're never going to fully be able to show up for anyone or anything. And that's something that I've had to learn the hard way. And I want to make sure that you guys know it's not the way to go. But with that, keeping everything simple, have an amazing day, you amazing people. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you leave us a like, subscribe, ring that notification bell so you know every time that we upload a new episode. If you listen to us on Spotify, another podcast app of choice, make sure to give us a follow and leave us a 5-star rating. It really helps out the podcast, and I greatly appreciate it. But have an amazing day, you amazing people. Go out there and do great things. I'll see you all next time.